This is Discovering the Scriptures with Dr. Peter John Parisis. Currently, we are in Daniel chapter 2, verse 26. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof?" Unquote. Now let's look next at the raw translation in the Interlinear Bible. Quote, Our Belteshazzar, name was, whose, to Daniel, and said, King thee, answered, and its interpretation, I have seen, which dreamed thee, to make known to me, able. Unquote. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the Young's Literal Translation and see what it has to say for us. Quote, "The king hath answered and said to Daniel, whose name is Belteshazzar, Art thou able to cause me to know the dream that I have seen and its interpretation?" Unquote. Now, let's take a look at John Wesley's commentary on this verse. I want you to see something, why it's important to study this scriptures verse by verse in context, parsing it out, and comparing translations. This is what John Wesley has to say. Quote, Belteshazzar. By this name of Belteshazzar he was given Daniel. He took courage as if he might expect some great thing from him, for the word signifies the keeper of secret treasures. Unquote. Now, I want you to look at this verse and see what it says. I'm going to read the King James. Quote, "The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Thou art able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof?" Unquote. As you notice in this verse, the king does not even address Daniel by name. Not Daniel, not Belteshazzar. He answers and speaks to Daniel. So let's go ahead and take a look at this in context. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out here, and I'm going to read you the verses before it. Daniel chapter 2, verse 24 through 26. "Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man in the captives of Judah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof?" Unquote. So, we don't see anything here indicating that Nebuchadnezzar even addressed Daniel by his Hebrew name or by his given Chaldean name by the king Belteshazzar. He's just been spoken to, according to this verse, by the king. That's all we have. So to make any kind of interpretation that John Wesley did, and I'll read it again, quote, Belteshazzar, by this name of Belteshazzar, he had given Daniel. He took courage, as if he might expect some great thing from him, for the word signifies the keeper of secret treasure, unquote. You can't make that assumption, because we don't even know if the king even knew who Daniel was. And all he's doing is talking to him. So if he doesn't address him by name, he more than likely does not even remember him. Remember, Daniel's only went in twice, once given a name, when he's chosen to be fed for 3 years and learned it and all that stuff to see if he can pass to be a wise man. And once when he gets permission to have time to go ahead and seek his God for the dream and interpretation from the king. And the king is obviously still killing off the wise men of Babylon because Arioch has been told by Daniel to stop killing. He has the information the king knows that he wants. So you can't make assumptions there. I mean, you can, but you're going to look foolish if you do so. So that's one of the things that I saw when I was flipping through the commentaries. So let's go ahead and parse out this verse and see what we can get. By the way, this is given in and of itself its own paragraph, so we're not pulling this out of context or anything. So parsing this out, the king answered. Now let's take a look at answered. Now remember, this is in Aramaic because Daniel stopped writing Hebrew and started writing this whole story all the way through chapter 7 in Aramaic. This is a PL stem, and that represents the basic form of the verb, and it is done so in a casual action. And it's a participle aspect, so basically you can just put in to be. Next, answered and said. Let's parse that out. It's a PL stem, participle again, so it's a casual to be. And said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar. So we have here. Now this was Daniel giving us this information. Art thou able? Let's parse out art thou able. That is a PL stem active participle. So that means again that we have a casual action to be. Continuing on. Thou art able to make known. Let's parse that. It's an APL stem and infinitive aspect. And what this means is a causative conjunction. And with infinitive, it's basically, you can put like an ing to it. So it's a causative conjunction, and then just add ing. So on this one, it would be have made known unto me the dream which I have seen. So when we go make known, it causes conjunction. So to make knowing to me. So it's something. Can you do this? And then continuing on unto me the dream which I have seen. Let's parse that out. Which I have seen. It's a PL stem, perfect aspect. So it's basically a casual action, but it's completed, which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. So that's the verse. It's very basic on this. Matter of fact, let's take a look at the commentaries to see what else we can draw and get information from to help us learn this verse and what's going on here. I have looked over numerous commentaries on this verse. And the one thing that discovering the scriptures is and stands for. We are looking for the truth about scriptures and what the scripture says. We'll parse it out, look at translations that are worthy to be looked at, but we will not add or subtract anything into the verses. The commentaries are all making suggestions about Daniel and Belteshazzar. We cannot make that assumption. It doesn't say he even called him by name. It doesn't even say that he knew him. None of this. This man has come before him. He's not a recognized wise man. He is not addressed by name as given. Of course, you could presuppose it, but it doesn't say it. So the king is talking to this man as, are you able? Because you're not even a wise man. Are you able to make known this dream that I have seen and the interpretation thereof? Basically asking this guy, who are you and can you do this? This is Discovering the Scriptures. May God richly bless you as you go about and study your ways.